What's going on, guys? So alpha for Predecessor is coming up this upcoming weekend. Now, for those of you that don't know, I will be giving out keys for access today, October 22nd, on my Twitch. So stop by. I'll leave a link in the description below. But let's talk about these things that are subject to change, because a lot of you remember the Predecessor from the old closed alpha, right? And a lot of things have changed since then. I got a chance to play behind the scenes, and it's one of those things that some of the changes might actually confuse you, but I'm pretty sure most of you will like these changes. Check them out. Right, so we're just going to read down the list here. Now, first of all, it starts off by saying Predecessor Closed Alpha will run from the 23rd of October, 12 p.m. till the 25th of October, 12 a.m. And you can request an alpha key at predecessorgame.com. I'll put that link below as well. Some of the major notes to consider. Now, they added the river buffs. They added the jungle. They adjusted things in the jungle. Well, hold on. Let me rephrase that, because they already had river buffs, but they tweaked them. Excuse me. They changed things on Orb Prime, Fangtooth, item system. They added 2 new heroes. They changed some of the map and heads-up display updates as well. So digging into it, the river buffs. Now, they're mentioning here that river buffs are first going to spawn at 3 minutes and then at every 2 minutes after that. They'll provide a small individual buff for the hero that captures the buff. Capturing any river buff will grant you mana regen for a small period, along with the additional effect, depending on the one that you capture. If you capture the orange buff, that means you're going to get increased attack speed, and that will scale with your level. If you capture the pink buff, that's going to give you bonus ability damage. The gray buff is going to give you bonus movement speed. And then the green buff is going to give you a shield, and that scales with your level as well. So why is this important, especially as a jungler, mid laner, or just somebody coming by and you decide to grab it? Very important to be aware of what these buffs do, because at the end of the day, that difference in extra ability damage, extra movement speed, that might be something that makes the difference in an actual fight and lets you take the lead. So be mindful of that. Try to study that. I'm assuming that a lot of you are going to notice when you capture the buff, it'll say bonus movement speed or whatever. But in case some of you don't remember and you just see that orb next to you, be mindful that's what it means. Moving forward now, jungle minions. All jungle minions, including the buffs, are considerably more durable when you do not have jungle crest equipped. That is a jungling item. Be wary of taking time to clear your jungler's camps when you could instead clear a lane or a gank. Now, what that means is, unless you have the jungler item called Jungle Crest, which allows you to clear jungle faster, it might actually be more detrimental instead of beneficial to sit there and steal a jungle camp. I like that idea. I like that idea that, of course, it's easier for jungler, but not as easy for the laners. So the laners are almost going to be like, you know what? It's not even worth going into the jungle and taking that one camp, because I could have just taken my entire lane and then some. So I like it. Just be mindful. Everybody that will be in the jungle trying to steal camps and you find yourself falling behind, that might be why, unless you have the jungle crest item. Moving forward, the jungle buffs themselves. Now, the red buff, whenever you hit a basic attack, it applies a slow and damage effect over time. And then the blue buff, once you capture it, you'll gain mana regen. Then it doubles when you're in combat. That's an interesting little change right there. And you'll get cooldown reduction. So these are more traditional red buffs and blue buffs that we know of from the Paragon days. So that's nice to see there. Moving forward, Orb Prime. Now, they mention here, I kind of got a little paragraph. I don't like paragraphs, but we'll read it here. Orb Prime is a powerful objective that requires multiple members of a team to take it down. Its powerful abilities and hard-hitting basic attacks allow it to soften the team up considerably. Additionally, Orb Prime's attacks will apply Blight, which is healing reduction. Thank you for stating that, because the average person doesn't know what Blight is. To all targets hit, as well as reduce their damage output for a duration. So not only are you going to have reduced healing, but you're also going to have reduced damage for a short amount of time. Interesting. Killing Orb Prime grants your team a temporary buff for 180 seconds. For those of you that don't know, that's 3 minutes. During this time, yourself and nearby allied minions are stronger. You additionally regenerate large amounts of health and mana when out of combat with the Orb Prime buff. So I like that they're including that to kind of explain what Orb Prime is for a lot of the alpha participants. But I don't necessarily like that they don't, like, they just say during this time you and your allied minions are stronger. Well, you know, like, at this point, these are kind of patch notes. I think it's okay to mention how much stronger, because a lot of people do care about that. And, you know, since they're alpha participants, you know, maybe they want to know if the Orb Prime buff is making a difference. How are they going to know if they don't know the values? Just worth mentioning there. Worth editing, if not for future references for Predecessor. Now, Fangtooth. Killing Fangtooth grants a permanent buff to your team. Every time you kill Fangtooth, you receive a buff that provides a small advantage over the enemy team, plus 100 gold for each ally. So you not only get gold across the team, but you get a buff. Now, it's a stacking buff for those of you that don't know. Now, the first time that you kill Fangtooth as a team, your jungle and river buffs now last 50% longer, capped at 60 seconds. That's huge. Your buffs lasting 50% longer. The second time you kill Fangtooth, enemy structures now take 15% more damage. That's a huge Fangtooth. Being able to capture that second Fangtooth for your team, being able to take down those towers quicker, that makes a difference. Third Fangtooth is an extra 10% movement speed out of combat. That's nice. Fourth Fangtooth is 5% cooldown reduction. Ignores the cap. So an extra 5% cooldown even if you're at max cooldown. Interesting. And then the fifth Fangtooth and final reward is 10% power, 10% magical and physical power, 10% physical armor, and 10% magical armor, and it stacks infinitely. So that means that from your fifth Fangtooth forward, you're just becoming tankier and stronger. By that point, quite frankly, if you have 5 Fangtooth, you're probably able to end the match, TBH, if you've already gotten all these buffs. But let's say the game does last longer than expected, and your team does make it to the 5th one, and 6th and 7th. Those are endlessly scaling damage and tankiness that will help your team solidify the victory. Now, as far as items go, there's a lot of items that were added. For those of you that want to look at each individual item, I'm going to go ahead and link Briddick's video down below. For those of you that don't know, Briddick is a homie and a fellow Bronze Army member. So check out his video down below. It's going to have basically every single item selected, and it tells you what it does all the way from the beginner low-cost items to the end game items. Now, they simply mentioned in the patch notes that they added 100 plus new items. You can view these in the main menu, and from there, honestly, kudos to Predecessor, because you can see the items in the main menu of your game, not a third-party source or not just an external website or anything like that, because the average person just plays the game. The average consumer just embraces what's in front of him. The average consumer isn't on Discord. The average consumer isn't on YouTube. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, the average person just embraces the game. And those willing to learn then search or ask for advice. Hey, where can I find the items, etc. But having that in the game is huge. So kudos to Predecessor on that one. Now, they mentioned tonics here. Now, they mentioned tonics are one-time consumables that provide you with a temporary buff for 4 minutes. They can be consumed after reaching level 11 and are lost on your death. Excuse me. So use them wisely. Now, for those of you that have played Smite before, this is a very similar concept of the elixirs in Smite. Essentially, it's a buff, a potion buff that you can consume, but as soon as you die, it goes away. But it's a pretty significant buff at a pretty significant cost. Now, if you grab the Strength Tonic, it's going to give you 30 physical power and 7.5% life steal for 4 minutes. If you grab the Intellect Tonic, 30 magic power and 7.5 mana regen for 4 minutes. Now, the Stamina Tonic, 400 health and 12 health regen for 4 minutes. And the Protection Tonic, 15 physical armor, 15 magical armor, and 15 tenacity for 4 minutes. Again, be mindful, these are buffs that cost quite a considerable amount. You're basically paying full item price for these buffs. And they go away when you die. So these are the type of items that, let's say everybody's at full build, you buy these items to give you the extra edge. It's like an extra item that goes away when you die. But at that point, you might be able to take the lead. You wipe the enemy team. You still have your buff. You continue. You end the game, right? So whenever the games are kind of like tied and everybody's at full build, these are the items that are going to make the most difference there. Now they mentioned crest. Now we talked a little bit about this, so jungle crest, but there are other crests. Now crests are early game starter items that allow players a significant boost of strength right from the get-go. These additionally mimic the job of support jungler starter items. You may only have one crest at a time. Opting out of taking a crest early will make you far weaker to those that pick one up due to their high stat efficiency and passives. Now, they don't necessarily mention the crest. Again, you guys are going to be able to see Briddick's video on that one. But as far as the crests go, essentially it's like any other MOBA that we're used to. There are starter items that will additionally give you a buff or might be able to stack, or the passive that they give you, you know, like for support, being able to gain more gold off of support, for example. Things like that are traditionally seen in MOBAs, and I'm glad that they're including starter items in this game, because it almost creates like a norm as of starting. Like, this is what you start with, but people that decide to go straight into building might be a little bit set back early phase, but when they go back for gold, they're already ahead as of building. So I like the build diversity there. Now, as far as the heroes go, Steel, they have his passive, a battering barrier. He's granted an X amount plus 2% maximum health shield whenever he hits an enemy hero with an ability. So as soon as he hits an enemy with an ability, he gains a shield. Now, interestingly enough, I don't see anything on here about having a timer on that shield. Does that shield go away? Is that shield just for X amount of time? And does the shield stack per ability? These are things that a lot of players are going to ask themselves, and quite frankly are not here in the notes. So, you know, I'm questioning that, but we'll see as the weekend goes on. Let's see. Q. It's called Bull Rush. It's going to cost 100 mana. The cooldown is from 15 to 11. He charges forward, dealing damage plus 100% magical power. So it stacks 1-to-1 on magical power. Interesting. And then knocking back all enemies. So it's a shield rush, right? His force shield, he throws out a shield in front of him, blocking projectiles. Shield bash, swipes a shield in front of him, dealing magic damage, plus the 10% of the target's maximum health. That's huge. Magic damage. Applying a mini stun. And then they got the shield slam with his ult. So interestingly enough, this kit is basically not 100%, but it's very similar to the Fault kit that we see on Steel. He's basically going to have his pushback, his force field shield, his stun, and his ultimate, right? So it's interesting. I'm more interested to see how all this magic damage scaling is going to go with all these items, because 120% magic damage scaling, 100% magic damage scaling, and 100% magic damage scaling on this one, I can easily see people playing Steel in the jungle, because that magic scaling is fucking insane, right? Now let's move on forward to Lieutenant Belica. Now, her passive is her abilities gain an additional strength at max rank. So you're almost incentivized to max out a Belica ability as fast as possible, because they gain a buff once they're maxed out. Now they got her seismic assault, you know, the line knockup. So let me see on here. So dealing 70 to 230 damage plus 100% magical power. Wow. And then applying a 1.2 to 1.6 second stun. I like the duration of the stun. The fact that it's not anything crazy and overbearing. Again, very concerned about the 100% magical power. I don't know if all their heroes scale like this, but 100% scaling on items is pretty fucking bonkers. That means once you get an item online, if you have that one item lead, take advantage of that shit. Now, her drone. Drone drains mana per second from enemy heroes, attacks enemies within the radius, 30% magical power. Okay, so the drone doesn't stack as well. The drone is destroyed after being basic attack. Interesting. Scaling amount of basic attacks. So at level 1, you need 3 basic attacks to destroy it. At level 5, you need 5 basic attacks to destroy that drone. That's kind of rip. We'll see how that goes. At max rank, the drone attacks will also drain 4% of... Oh, so maxing out the ability. Again, the buff is when it attacks, it also drains 4% of their mana. And excuse me, the max rank ability on the knock-up is travel times reduced by 25% of the ability. So that means that the knock-up ability that travels to the end to knock up, basically, it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but that just means that it's going to cast faster, so to speak. Now, the Void Bomb, the right click, produces a bomb after 1.2 seconds, dealing from 100 to 300 damage, plus 100% magical power. Jesus Christ, there it goes again. Restores 10 to 18 mana for each enemy hit. That's a nice effect. Max rank, the radius is increased by 33%. Oh my god. So you max out the right click, increased by 1/3. Oh my gosh. Okay. Ultimate, Neural Disruptor. Basically, she's going to hit a hero within 1,400 units, fires his pistol, dealing from 100 to 200, plus 60% magical power. Interesting that her drone and her ultimate don't scale as much. But then you see characters like Steel, where his ultimate does scale all the way. But Steel is mainly he was created intentionally to be a support, but yet the mage doesn't scales less than Steel does. Interesting. Damage increases by 0.5 to 0.7 per point of target's missing mana. At max rank, range is increased. Okay, so at max rank, you can cast it further away. But, if anything, traditionally with the old Belica ult that we know, based off of how much mana you're missing, the damage increases. But not only that, there's 60% magical power increase as well, based on what you're building. And on top of that, you already have the base damage. So I can see people getting fucked up by this ability hella quickly, right? Now, some of the map modifications, they did just, general bug fixes and polish. They did some performance optimization, and they added a new path in the blue side jungle to provide more routes within the jungle. Okay, so essentially for the map, all they did is they optimized performance, and they changed a couple of tweaks there in the blue jungle to optimize pathing. Some of the heads-up display updates. Now, besides bugs and fixes, they added the dynamic ability descriptions. Interesting. They added upgrade boxes to show what increases as you level an ability. They added the status indicator to the left-hand side of the heads-up display to indicate what effects are currently active on a player. They added the option to adjust and or disable the overhead health bar on top of your character. They added the option to adjust target sensitivity, and then the option to auto run. So this is a very good point for a lot of people to realize. When it comes to heads-up display, a lot of people think the heads-up display is only, the hero health bars on top, the mini-map, what your abilities look like. Not a lot of people realize the heads-up display has to do with the notifications that you get on the screen. The damage number output, the health bar that can be on top of your hero or not, if you prefer that. There's a lot of things that come to the heads-up display, and seeing some of these changes, these are nice quality of life changes that as they progress, I'm actually more interested to see what other changes they make to the heads-up display. Now, as far as everything, Predecessor's always been known for being a good, visually appealing game. So that might be why necessarily they're not necessarily focusing on adding more visually appealing things, more focusing on adding content, because this is something we brought up in one of the previous videos. If you focus too much on quality and don't give enough content, that's no bueno. You gotta create a balance. So this is Predecessor's strike at, hey, our quality was up here, our content was here, now we're bringing our content up, now we're a little bit more on par. Tell us what you think. Give us feedback. I want to hear in the comments below what you guys think about these changes. Do you think these changes are substantial for the 3 months that they were incognito and now are going to release an alpha? Do you guys think that the 2 heroes that are being added are the 2 heroes and these changes that we're talking about? Do you guys find these changes worthwhile? Did you expect more? Are they exceeding your expectations? I want to hear all about these in the comments below. But if anything, guys, thank you so much for watching. And as always, till the next video.